You ever sit around with your buddies, couple beers in, and someone drops that question every guy secretly wants the answer to? When do women actually crave sex the most? The room always goes quiet for a second. Then, every dude's got a theory. Some quote science. Some swear it's about hormones. Someone always says, "Bro, it's the 20-year-olds." And you nod like you agree. But deep down, you're not so sure. Because if we're being honest, most of us are just guessing. Operating on ego, porn, and half-remembered articles from years ago. We've all had women who wanted it less than we did. And we've all had moments where we wondered, is it me? Or is this just how women are? What if everything we've been told about female desire is completely backwards? What if the women you think are past their prime are actually just stepping into it? What if the ones society calls too old are the ones who finally understand what real desire feels like? I found out the hard way, after a divorce, after thinking I already knew women. And what I discovered flipped everything I believed about sex, attraction, and what women really want. So sit tight, because what I'm about to tell you isn't a fantasy. It's not from a movie. It's what happens when you meet a woman who's done pretending and finally knows exactly what she wants. I didn't plan to discover anything. I wasn't chasing some grand truth about women or sex. I was just a guy trying to survive a breakup. 34, newly divorced, and licking my wounds. You know that feeling when you think you've got life figured out, and then it all burns down in front of you? That was me. I spent months replaying what went wrong, wondering if I was the problem, if I'd somehow lost the version of myself women once wanted. When I finally started dating again, I expected the same game. Texting, pretending not to care, matching energy, whatever people do to look cool in their 30s. But that's not what happened. The women who reached out to me didn't fit the image I had in my head. They weren't the 20-somethings posting beach selfies and brunch photos. They were women in their 40s, some even older, divorced, confident, direct. And they came at me with an energy that honestly shook me. They didn't flirt in half sentences. They didn't ask me to hang out, and they told me what they wanted, when they wanted it, and they weren't shy about any of it. At first, I thought it was a fluke, but it kept happening. One after another, these women were bold in a way I hadn't experienced before. It wasn't desperate. It wasn't manipulative. It was honest, raw, free. The first time I met one of them, I could feel the difference before a single word was spoken. She walked in like she'd already decided what the night would be, not arrogant, just sure. She didn't look at me like I was a prize. She looked at me like a choice. And that look did something to me. It disarmed me, stripped away every layer of ego I'd built up trying to play the dating game. We had dinner. We talked. It wasn't small talk. It was real. About life, mistakes, regrets, second chances. And by the time the night ended, I knew this woman wasn't interested in games or validation. She wanted connection. She wanted to feel alive again. And when that happened, when we finally crossed that line, I understood something that had never clicked before. Younger women often have sex like they're performing it. They think they're supposed to look a certain way, sound a certain way, move a certain way. It's not their fault. They've been trained by movies, by pressure, by insecurity. But these older women, they've burned all that down. They're not performing. They're present. They're inside their bodies. Every touch, every sound, every breath. It's real. It's not a show for your ego. It's an expression of their truth. And that's when I started to notice a pattern. The women who'd lived through heartbreak, raised kids, handled life, built something of their own. Those were the ones who radiated real sexual energy. Not because their bodies were younger, but because their minds were finally free. They didn't need approval. They didn't care if the lights were on. They didn't worry about looking perfect. They just wanted to feel. It hit me that female desire doesn't fade with age. It evolves. When they stop carrying the weight of what they think they're supposed to be, they finally unlock what they've always had. That's when it gets dangerous, in the best possible way. Because you're not dealing with fantasy anymore. You're dealing with someone who's tasted life, who's survived it, who knows what she wants, and isn't afraid to take it. The truth is, that energy can scare a lot of men, especially those who've only known women pretending. But once you experience it, you realize how different it is from what you thought desire looked like. It's deeper, wilder. It's not about proving anything. It's about sharing something electric and real. That was the moment everything changed for me. I stopped chasing youth and started paying attention to confidence, to self-awareness, to the kind of presence that only comes from time and experience. And that's when I realized, maybe the sexiest thing about a woman isn't her age. It's her freedom. After that night, something shifted in how I saw women. I realized most guys, including me, had been taught to measure attraction backward. We're told that youth equals passion, that the hottest desire lives in tight skin and wild nights. But that's not how it works. Not really. Desire doesn't peak when the body's at its youngest. It peaks when the mind finally gets out of the way. When a woman is young, she's busy performing. She's learning the rules, trying to be sexy the way she thinks she's supposed to be. She's watching herself from the outside, constantly asking, "Do I look right? Am I doing enough? Does he think I'm hot?" She's trapped in her own head, chasing approval she doesn't even need. It's not that she doesn't want pleasure, it's that she hasn't learned how to claim it. But women in their 40s and 50s? Different story. They've dropped the script. They've stopped apologizing for wanting. They've lived through enough bullshit to stop caring about what anyone thinks. Somewhere along the way, they realize that being desired is nice, but desiring is power. It's not about age, it's about liberation. Once a woman stops carrying other people's expectations, how she should look, act, behave, please, she becomes dangerous in the most beautiful way. Her energy changes. You can feel it in how she talks, how she touches you, how she takes her time. It's not performance anymore. It's instinct. It's rhythm. It's the sound of someone finally owning her body instead of renting it out for approval. I remember a woman I met who told me, "I spent half my life worrying about how I looked naked. Then one day, I just got tired of giving a damn." That hit me, because when she said it, she wasn't bragging. She was free. And that freedom was magnetic. Every move she made felt natural, effortless, grounded. She wasn't trying to be sexy. She just was. Younger women often confuse attraction with validation. Older women, they crave connection. They don't want to impress you. They want to feel you. They want to be seen, heard, and touched without pretending. That kind of desire is heavier. It's slower, deeper, more consuming. It's not fireworks. It's a fire that never goes out. And here's the truth nobody tells you. Most men aren't ready for that kind of heat. They think they want it, but when they finally meet a woman who knows her body, who knows her needs, and who refuses to fake anything, they panic. They go back to safer waters, where they can still be the man, without being truly challenged. Because a woman who knows what she wants doesn't just want your body, she wants your presence. That's why so many divorced men chase younger women after 40. It's not because they're more attractive, it's because they're easier. A confident, mature woman won't worship your ego. She'll expose your insecurities. She'll call you out when you're lazy. And she'll expect you to show up, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, completely. And when you do, when you match her energy, you'll experience something you can't get anywhere else. It's not about stamina. It's not about performance. It's about intensity, the kind that feels almost spiritual. Because when a woman has nothing left to prove, she's free to feel everything. That's when it becomes more than sex. It's connection. It's surrender. It's truth. So when people say women lose their desire as they age, I laugh. They don't lose it. They refine it. They stop wasting it. They stop giving it away to men who can't handle it. Their bodies don't shut down. Their standards rise. And if you're not ready for that, if you can't meet her where she's at, she won't fake it. She'll just walk away. Because for her, desire isn't a game anymore. It's not something she performs to keep you around. It's something sacred, something she's earned. And when you finally meet a woman like that, you'll understand. It's not youth that makes sex powerful. It's presence. If this made you see women and yourself a little differently, don't let it end here. Hit that subscribe button, because we're just getting started. There's more truth, more stories, more real talk that'll change how you see love, sex, and connection forever. Stay with me. You'll never see relationships the same again. Here's where things get wild. Most people think desire fades with time. The truth? It just changes its timing. It's like a storm that hits later than expected, but when it comes, it's unstoppable. Younger women might have all the physical energy in the world, but life gets in the way. They've got kids, work, deadlines, distractions. Their bodies are young, but their minds are overloaded. They're trying to be everything at once: girlfriend, wife, mom, career woman, therapist, project manager. By the end of the day, they're not craving sex. They're craving silence, sleep, space, and that's where the paradox kicks in. When they finally get that space, 15, 20 years later, their energy shifts. The kids are grown. The chaos slows down. Their bodies may have changed, but their confidence has grown tenfold. For the first time in years, they're not living for someone else. They're living for themselves. And in that freedom, something primal wakes up. That's when desire returns, not as a flicker, but as a wave. Everything they buried under schedules, expectations, and exhaustion comes rushing back. But now it's different. It's mature, focused, demanding, not reckless, but intentional. They don't want just any connection. They want the kind that feels real, the kind that makes them feel alive again. I once talked to a woman in her late 40s who said, "I thought I was broken in my 30s. I thought maybe my sex drive was gone." But it wasn't gone. It was waiting for me to get my life back. That line stuck with me, because that's what this whole thing is about. Timing. Desire doesn't disappear. It just hides until there's room for it to breathe. Society doesn't tell women that. Instead, it feeds them lies. You peak at 25. You're past your prime at 35. You should be grateful for attention after 40. It's all nonsense. Lies built to sell youth, filters, and insecurity. The truth is that female sexuality matures like wine. It deepens, thickens, gains texture. It's no longer about being perfect. It's about being real. But there's a cruel twist. When a woman finally reaches that point of confidence and desire, the world often stops seeing her. Men her age chase younger women to feed their egos. Younger men assume she's not interested. She becomes invisible in a world that still worships the illusion of youth. Meanwhile, She's sitting on a volcano, burning quietly, waiting for someone who actually sees her. And when she finally finds that person, it's explosive. You can feel the difference. It's not just lust, it's hunger mixed with gratitude, freedom, and power. It's what happens when years of suppression turn into clarity. She's not afraid of judgment anymore. She doesn't care about the noise. She's there to experience, to give, to take, to feel everything she's been denying herself. That's why older women love harder, want deeper, feel stronger. They've lived long enough to understand that time is short, and pleasure isn't a luxury. It's fuel. Their bodies aren't shutting down, they're catching up. Their desire isn't fading, it's awakening. And once it's awake, there's no going back. So, when you hear someone say, "Women lose interest with age," remember this. They don't lose interest. They lose patience. They're done pretending, done performing, done settling for half-alive connection. They want the real thing, and if you can't bring that to the table, they'll eat alone before they let someone waste their fire. Because the truth is simple. Women don't become less sexual with time. They just become more selective. Here's the part most men don't want to hear. The problem isn't that women lose desire. It's that most men never learned how to inspire it. We grow up thinking sex is performance, that if we last long enough or move the right way, she'll be satisfied. But women don't respond to technique. They respond to presence. And that's exactly what most guys lose over time. I've seen it happen again and again. A guy marries young, builds a life, gets comfortable. The passion fades, but instead of adapting, he blames her. She changed, he says. She's not into it anymore. What he doesn't see is that she didn't stop wanting. She just stopped wanting him the way he's been showing up. She's been giving emotionally, mentally, physically for years, and at some point, she runs dry. Then one day, he's blindsided. She's gone. She leaves for someone who makes her feel alive again, and he can't believe it. She must have lost her mind, he says. But she didn't lose her mind. She found herself, because the truth is, a woman's desire isn't automatic. It's responsive. It reflects the energy she's given. If you stop making her feel seen, appreciated, desired, that flame goes cold. Not dead, just waiting for someone else to light it. I've had men tell me they're scared of dating women their age, not because they don't find them attractive, but because they're intimidating. You can't fake confidence with a woman who's already done pretending. She knows when you're distracted. She knows when you're trying too hard. She knows when your words don't match your energy. She's lived through decades of half-hearted connection, and she won't tolerate it again. And that's where most men run. They retreat to younger women because it's easier. Younger women will laugh at their jokes, overlook their effort, and feed their ego. But older women, they'll hold a mirror up to you. They'll call out the laziness, the lack of curiosity, the emotional distance. And if you can't handle that, you'll convince yourself they're too much. But they're not too much. You're just not enough yet. A woman in her 40s or 50s who knows herself doesn't need your approval. She needs your attention. She doesn't want your dominance. She wants your depth. She doesn't care how much you bench or how many girls liked your last post. She wants to know if you can make her feel something real, if you can hold her energy without flinching. That's why men who learn presence, who actually listen, touch with intention, speak with honesty, find themselves experiencing sex on a completely different level. Because when a woman feels safe enough to let go, everything changes. She's not performing anymore. She's not worried about being judged. She's free, and that freedom is electric. It's not something you can fake. It's not something you can demand. You have to earn it. But most men never do. They spend their lives coasting on autopilot, assuming desire just fades with time. Then they meet a woman who refuses to settle, and instead of rising to meet her, they run back to what's familiar. They mistake challenge for rejection. They confuse intensity with danger. And so they miss out on the most powerful version of intimacy there is. The kind that happens when two people have nothing to prove, nothing to hide, nothing to perform. Just truth. Just connection. Just raw, unfiltered energy. That's what women over 40 bring to the table. Not obligation, not expectation, just presence, just hunger, just the truth. And the men who can't handle that, they'll keep chasing girls who pretend to want them, while real women are out there living their best years without them. The most intense connection I ever had wasn't with a girl in her 20s. It was with a woman who had already lived enough life to stop apologizing for who she was. She was 46, confident, grounded. No games, no pretending. She didn't need me to complete her. She wanted me to match her. And when we did, it was like everything else disappeared. There was no awkward guessing, no performance, no ego battle. Just truth. She knew exactly what she wanted, how she wanted it, and when she wanted it. She wasn't afraid to ask, and she wasn't afraid to take. That kind of energy changes you. It ruins you for anything less. Because once you've experienced a woman who's fully present, mentally, emotionally, physically, you realize how empty most connections really are. Sex with her wasn't just physical. It was communication, rhythm, play, comfort, release, all at once. Sometimes it was laughter. Sometimes it was silence. Sometimes it was so raw, it almost hurt. But it always felt real. That's what most men don't understand. When a woman has lived long enough to shed her insecurities, she becomes a force of nature. And when you meet her at that level, it's not about dominance or control. It's about surrender. There's this myth that older women prey on younger men. That's bullshit. The truth is, they've reached an age where they're finally free to go after what they want, without guilt. And the funny thing, younger men often handle that better than older ones, because they're not threatened by it. They don't see confidence as competition. They see it as invitation. Freedom changes everything. A woman in her 40s has her own space, her own life, her own rhythm. She's not scheduling intimacy between responsibilities or hiding behind insecurity. She's not chasing validation. She's chasing experience. She's comfortable in her skin, aware of her body, and unafraid of her desire. That's not too much. That's what real maturity looks like. But here's the tragedy. So many women like her have been told to tone it down, to act their age, to settle into quiet invisibility. They're sitting on a fire the world refuses to see, and so they wait for someone who does. Someone who looks past the number, past the stereotype, past the fear. If you're a man listening to this, understand something. If your sex life has died, it's not because she doesn't want you. It's because you've stopped seeing her. You're still treating her like the girl she was 20 years ago, not the woman she's become. You've stopped evolving while she's been growing into her power. And if you can't rise with her, she'll rise without you. But if you can meet her in that space of honesty, curiosity, and presence, she'll take you somewhere you didn't even know existed. Because when a woman is free, she comes electric. She doesn't fake it. She doesn't force it. She doesn't perform for your comfort. She feels fully. And when she chooses to share that with you, it's not just sex, it's revelation. So stop chasing youth like it's the key to desire. It's not. Stop running from women who scare you with their confidence. That fear you feel? It's not intimidation. It's recognition. You're seeing what real power looks like, and it's beautiful. Because the truth is simple. The best sex of your life won't come from someone who's trying to please you. It'll come from someone who knows exactly who she is, what she wants, and isn't afraid to take it. That's not the end of desire. That's the beginning of it. If this hit something inside you, don't just scroll past it. Subscribe, because this is the kind of truth men don't talk about, but need to hear. Drop a comment. Tell me what you've seen, what you've felt, what nobody ever told you about desire and connection. And share this with someone who needs to wake up, someone who still thinks passion fades with time. It doesn't fade, brother. It evolves. And when you understand that, everything changes.